Hello and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I'm Sam,
On Matt.
and today we're going to be reviewing Tell 'em,
Legends of Tomorrow.
Tell 'em, yeah, episode. And this one's called. This one is called Land of the Lost. Aptly so because previous episode, unbeknownst to everyone else, Rip Hunter is in communication with Gideon, and he escapes his cell. He tries to run through a couple directives, but like the rest of the crew have told him to ignore his kind of what he's trying to say, his orders. They've been like ignore him, so Gideon's been held to that. But he drops the override, doors open up, and then he plans to escape aboard the jump ship and whatever, but he's stopped. He gets one bomb by Mick. No. Do you know the compass? Obviously, the compass. He destroys that, so they got no way to find Nate's great granddad, whose commanders steal a member of the Justice League of America, and he's the one who has a piece of the last bit of the spear. So he destroys the compass, and while he's distracted doing that, Mick one bombs him, knocks him out. They take him to the medical bay, and they come up with the genius idea. It just so happens, you know what I mean? It's took like a couple of episodes, but it just so happens on the ship there's a cognitive blah 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 device that allows people to go into other people's minds and fuck around, basically. Yeah. So that's what they do, but obviously, meanwhile, elsewhere, the ship's crashed, and it just so happens to crash around about the same area that Ray Palmer was abandoned when they did the emergency temporal shift thingy in like the first episode of the season. So he's back messing about with dinosaurs. The subplot of that is Vixen and Nate are fraternising, as it was so aptly put. What's your opinions on that?
My opinion, I don't see the point of. We'll get to the Nate and the Vixen thing in a second, but I don't really see the point of them going to the prehistoric area at all.
I think they crashed there. They crashed there as a result of like whatever.
No, so, I get the idea in the show. I just don't get the point of them doing it. You might as well just kept them on the ship and done something there. You don't need all this thing, like spend all that money on a dinosaur for no reason. Nothing come of it.
And they did spend quite a fair amount of money on this episode. That pretty much, yeah, they were kind of a couple interesting things got dropped. We'll get onto that, but really, I mean, if we're going to prioritise, we'll have to talk about them in Rip's mind. I thought it's funny how like kind of Mick Rory's like scientist in charge, and like Stein's like his assistant. I always find that funny. I still think he's like the best character in it, Mick Rory. Easily the best character in there. So Sara and
Jax.
Yeah. I was thinking of his actor name then, and I was like, that's not it. So they go into Rip's mind, and because Eobard's messed about with the mind, they're kind of going through there, and like them, like White Canary, Firestorm, Mick Rory, the Atom and stuff like that, they've been corrupted in their mind to be bad people, so they've got to fight through them to kind of get the job done. What I thought was a good touch as well, which I thought was great, is that you actually get to see like human Gideon.
Yeah, see, I don't know how I feel about that. I suppose it was okay, but it's kind of like Doctor Who did something similar a while back, didn't they? With the human TARDIS.
Yeah.
You know, it was fine, I guess. It's basically the same idea, isn't it? The ship is always with him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in that episode? Arthur Darvill. It was Amy and Rory, wasn't it? And
it was.
It's basically the same thing.
What? So you think like in the script writers have been like consulting, watching Doctor Who for ideas?
Well, it's a bit of a coincidence, isn't it? The exact same thing happens with the same dude who was in that episode.
Yeah. It kind of worked though. It's way better than last week's. I really liked this episode because I mean the effects were good. I mean Sarah gets banged out, so she gets locked in the brig, and she's like with the wussy Rip Hunter, and she's trying to convince him it's all good. And obviously Jax bumps into the real Gideon, who just happens to be quite attractive. I like her voice. She's got a real nice voice. It's funny when you see her talk, and it's like exactly the same as like Gideon, because they obviously get the exact same actress who like does the voice of Gideon to actually be Gideon, which is a good touch. I mean, I wouldn't see why they'd pick anyone else. It just so happens that she's attractive.
Yeah, that's
So
fortunate, isn't it?
yeah, real fortunate. So yeah, the evil firestorm looked sick. The effects on him was pretty good. Like the kind of dark red kind of fire thing. I thought that was decent. I like that a lot. So yeah, it's kind of all focused on the legends and less about like obviously there's Legion of Doom undertones, but they're not really referenced. You don't actually see them, but they're referenced a lot, and obviously you see Eobard at the end.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting because like obviously on the other side, on the land of the lost, the actual planet with the dinosaurs, like you get to see a bit more of Vixen's powers where she talks to the animals. So whatever, I could have guessed that. They didn't really need to. I would have assumed that she could talk to the animals.
Yeah, I think the subplot that Nate is holding her back, and he shouldn't, because she's important compared to the rest of them who weren't, why they were recruited in the first place. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that was solid.
It's just the idea of going back to the prehistoric era was pointless.
I think it was kind of bare bones, stripped away, kind of thing where like get them away, get them isolated, get them kind of properly talking. So obviously, because that Vixen obviously squits out a kid, and then that kid becomes like the new Vixen. She's important to the timeline because without her, then obviously the new Vixen can't save so many people in Detroit. And there's issues and stuff like that, and Ray sits down with him and's like, look, I know you're into her, I know you want to, get your rocks off, honey, but unfortunately, she's already got a predestined path, and really you're interfering. Whether he turns out to be like the grandfather or whatever, whether they're going to try and push that, I don't know, but really it's just like, yo, she's got to do her thing. So don't get too attached, because at the end of the day, she's going to go back to 1944, and you're just going to carry on. It'd be annoying if he meets up with like the new Vixen, modern day Vixen, and he tries to get with her. That would just be like,
oh, that's always awkward. They do that in time travel stuff. It's always kind of gross, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's proper batty. I wouldn't like that at all. But I think it did bring up some completely relevant points. So. Yeah, so with the help of Gideon, obviously he has a one-on-one with her, Rip Hunter, and it's just like, you know what, I'm fixed now, I'm good to go, and they smooch because they've got a special relationship, and then Rip Hunter's fixed. Happy days.
Yeah, magically.
Yeah. See, this kind of episode wasn't really chock full of stuff. Really, it was kind of, they're doing this, they're doing that, no twists, no turns, no like amazing things, just sitting down, dialogue, not really much to kind of dissect. So I mean,
no, it's a good episode. This is one they had to get out of the way.
Yeah,
because they need to get Rip back on side. They were forced basically into writing him out of the show because of fraud church, I think, right? Alpha Dad were committed to that. So eventually I had to find a way to ingratiate him back into the team. This is it. I guess he's captain again. Or is he and Sarah going to be like co-captains or something?
I think he's of the kind of impression where he's going to back off and let her be herself.
So how does that work though? There's no be one Kirk, you know what I mean? They can't have two of them.
I think she flies the ship and does stuff like that, and he like lays out the plan because he knows more technical stuff. He's travelled through time and space and stuff like that, and he's been doing it all his kind of career, whereas she's kind of fresh off. So he could be like an executive consultant to her. But I mean, the dynamic of her being a girl and him being a guy, kind of together. Not that it's really relevant the different genders, but I mean, two of them together. I mean, while he could be training her, as it were.
I suppose maybe it would be less like Star Trek and more like the X-Men, where he's Professor X, who's in charge of the overall thing, and she's like Cyclops, who's like the field leader and goes down and beats the crap out of people.
Yeah. It's interesting because obviously as time has gone on, she has become more adept as a captain and stuff like that. I think because kind of the first season, there was a lot of and ahhing as to his intent, so they didn't really fall in line and properly trust him for a while. So I figure they're always going to kind of look to her as kind of being a recruit and kind of more trustworthy, and especially he's come out of this thing there, even though he was kind of out of his mind, they are going to look at him a little differently. So
Yeah.
I mean, she's kind of like a liaison to that, but I mean, there are going to be things where like she's not going to know about, and is going to have to pop in and like get the job done. So
I think she is less annoying now. Last season, she could be frustrating because I think she kept on wanting to go back and try and save Laurel, or she wanted to kill Damien Dark.
that was this season, dummy.
No, it wasn't, was it?
Yeah, this is all season 2.
Well, no, because she wanted to do something in season 1. Do you not remember? Because
Season 1 was Vandal Savage, like because Laurel only died really late into like season 4 of Arrow. So I mean, she wasn't even aware of Laurel dying till well into season 2 of Legend.
She had an issue last season. I can't remember what it was, but Rick kept on having to talk her down. Maybe she just wanted to kill people all the time.
Yeah. That was it.
It was that, and she was too reckless, and they've kind of taken it out of her character, which I think is for the best.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of that was training her to be captain as well. I think she's kind of matured. It's like Jax and stuff like that, he was kind of always kind of felt kind of second fiddle with Martin Stein and stuff like that, so kind of Rip got him to be like the maintenance man and stuff like that, and whereas like Martin Stein isn't actually a doctor, he's kind of more scientist guy with like Ray Palmer, so it kind of gave Jax a purpose outside being Firestorm, and kind of gave Sara a purpose outside of being White Canary, so that's kind of what he did for the kind of, because she was kind of lost, if you know what I mean, and is kind of young and trying to find his way. So I think those two are the kind of characters you want to kind of put in positions of like authority and stuff like that, and reliance, so it kind of edges out their character a little more. Because I mean, Mick Rory's Mick Rory. I mean, Stein's kind of doctor, Ray Palmer's doctor. The Hawks, forget about them, and obviously in this season, Vixen's kind of whatever, but you know she's going to disappear anyway, and Nate and stuff like that is kind of like, they gave him powers and stuff like that, but I mean he kind of integrates with everyone, so he's kind of an everyman, you know what I mean.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think Nate and Vixen are a definite step up from Hawkman and Hawkgirl.
Yeah. It's interesting that they've completely ditched them character from everything now. It's like they're vanished and you ain't seen them. Whether they bring them back next season, but I mean, I think they were kind of holding out to get a TV show, but I think because they're kind of bland, they're barely in Flash. I mean, in Legends of Tomorrow, they were probably rated the worst characters. They're kind of integral to the plot, but they're the worst characters. So,
there's just no chemistry there. I do think, I've always, not to get too sidetracked, but I've always been of the opinion you can do a cool Hawkman, Hawkgirl TV show, kind of like the old Highlander show where you do flashbacks of different lives and whatnot. It can even be an anthology thing with different actors in each of their lives. But in terms of Legends, they just didn't fit with the group. I think Nate and Vixen are a definite step up.
Yeah, so going into the last scene, you got Commander Steele getting ready to go on the Apollo 13 mission. Obviously, he's the holder of the last piece of a spear, and it just so happens the medical practitioner is Eobard Thawne. So something sinister is going to go on there, but that'll be for next episode. But for now, let's talk numbers.
like we said, it was kind of a smaller episode, but I'm going to go with an 8. I liked it. I liked the fact that we got the rip stuff out of the way. I liked the he even kind of had like a Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors kind of I've got powers in my dream kind of thing. That was kind of fun for a while. Definite step up from that god awful Arthur episode the last time. So an 8 from me.
Yeah, it was intimate. It was done well. There was a lot of care and attention to the character, so I'll have to give it an 8 also. Definite step up from last week. We'll have to see what happens next week in terms of that. I mean, to speculate quickly, I feel somehow Rip Hunter knows where Commander Steel's going to be, so obviously they're going to cross paths with Eobard Thawne. Whether Tweedledee and Tweedledum's going to pop up as well.
Surely couldn't Rip go undercover?
Well, yeah, he could do that. He could do that indeed. So whether that's an option, we'll have to wait and see. But for now, I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
And you've been watching the Superhero Hub.